Marcus Webb wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the dying sun outside the workshop window. Another long day fixing old shuttles on Outpost Epsilon 7 was finally over. The mining station sat on the edge of known space, far from Earth and far from anywhere that mattered. Marcus liked it that way. Out here, nobody asked too many questions about his past. He grabbed his toolbox and headed toward the living quarters. The metal corridors were quiet. Most workers were already eating dinner or sleeping. Marcus's boots made hollow sounds on the floor. He had walked these halls for 3 years now, ever since the accident. Ever since his crew died and he decided he wanted to be alone. The path took him past the waste disposal area. The station dumped garbage there before shooting it into space. Marcus usually walked quickly past this place. The smell was terrible. But tonight something made him stop. He heard a sound. A breathing sound. Heavy and painful. Marcus turned on his flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness between the garbage containers. At first he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But no, there was something large there. Something with scales. Something that should not be here. It was a dragon. Marcus had seen pictures of the Drakthor before. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were huge creatures that could destroy ships with their plasma breath. They ruled entire star systems. Other species feared them. The Drakthor were proud and powerful. They bowed to no one. But this dragon was different. It was young, maybe the size of a shuttle. Its scales were dull gray instead of shining. One wing was torn badly. One eye was scarred and closed. The creature lay on its side among the garbage, barely breathing. Marcus should have run. He should have called security. Dragons were dangerous, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way the creature looked so broken, so defeated. Marcus knew that feeling. The dragon's good eye opened slowly. It was golden like fire. It looked at Marcus with an expression he did not expect. Fear. And something else. Hunger. The dragon's mouth opened. Its voice was rough and quiet. It spoke in Galactic Common, the language most species used for trade. "May I have leftovers, sir?" Marcus stood frozen. The most feared species in the galaxy was begging him for garbage. For a moment, he could not believe what he heard. Dragons did not beg. Dragons took what they wanted. They burned planets. They destroyed fleets. They did not ask for scraps like stray animals. "Please," the dragon whispered again. "I am very hungry." Marcus looked around. No one else was here. He looked back at the dragon. Up close, he could see how thin it was. The ribs showed through the scales. The creature was starving. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. His voice was steady, even though his heart was beating fast. The dragon seemed surprised by the question. "I am called Kelthrin." I was of the Flamewing clan." "Was?" Marcus asked. Kelthrin closed his eye. "I am exiled, cast out. I am nothing now. Why?" I showed mercy. There was a refugee ship. Small creatures running from war. My clan leader ordered me to burn it. To show strength. To prove power. Kelthrin's voice became even quieter. "I could not do it. I saw children in the windows. So I let them go." "And they exiled you for that?" "Mercy is weakness. That is our way. I was weak. Now I am alone, starving, dying, but still. I am sorry to bother you, human. May I have the garbage? I will leave after." Marcus stood there for a long moment. He thought about the word weak. He thought about mercy. About kindness. About what it meant to be strong. "Wait here," Marcus said. He turned and walked away quickly. Kelthrin watched him go, probably thinking the human was getting security. "Getting weapons." The dragon lowered his head and waited for death. But Marcus came back. He carried a large box. He set it down in front of Kelthrin and opened it. Inside was real food. Not garbage. Actual meals from the station cafeteria. Protein bars. Dried fruit. Water bottles. Everything Marcus could grab quickly. "Eat," Marcus said. Kelthrin stared at the food. Then at Marcus. The dragon's eye was wide with confusion. "I cannot accept this," Kelthrin said. "In my culture, to accept food from another, it means you acknowledge them as your master. Forever, I cannot—" "I'm not asking you to be my servant," Marcus interrupted. "I'm just giving you food because you're hungry. That's what we do on Earth. We help, but why?" Marcus sat down on a garbage container. He was tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of being sad. Maybe this broken dragon understood that feeling. "Because you asked," Marcus said simply.
"And because I think mercy isn't weakness."
I think it takes more courage to spare someone than to kill them. Calthrin stared at him for another moment. Then hunger won over pride. The dragon began to eat, slowly at first, then faster. Marcus watched and said nothing. He just sat there in the darkness, keeping company with a fallen creature who had lost everything for doing the right thing. When Calthrin finished, he looked at Marcus again. This time there were tears in his golden eye. "Thank you," the dragon whispered. "I do not understand you, human. But thank you." Marcus stood up. "My name is Marcus, and you can stay here tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out what to do next." "They will come for me," Calthrin said quietly. "My kind. They will come to finish the exile. To kill me for my shame. Then we'll deal with that tomorrow too," Marcus said. He started to walk away, then stopped. "And Calthrin, you weren't weak. You were brave." Marcus left the dragon there alone with his thoughts and a full stomach for the first time in weeks. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment would change everything. Not just for them, but for the entire galaxy. Marcus returned the next evening with more food. This time he brought a heated meal from the cafeteria and some medical supplies. He found Calthrin in the same spot, hidden between the garbage containers. The dragon looked surprised to see him again. "You came back," Calthrin said. "Of course I did." Marcus set down the food. "Let me look at that wing." Calthrin pulled back. "You should not touch me. Dragon skin is hot. It will burn you." Marcus pulled on thick work gloves. "These can handle engine fires. I think I'll be okay." Carefully, Marcus examined the torn wing membrane. It was badly damaged but could heal if cleaned properly. He worked quietly, applying antiseptic and bandages. Calthrin hissed in pain but did not pull away. "Why do you do this?" the dragon asked. "You gain nothing. In fact, you risk everything. If my people find me here, they will destroy the station." Marcus continued working. "On Earth, we have these animals called dogs. Thousands of years ago, they were wolves, wild and dangerous. But humans fed them, cared for them. Not as servants, not as property, as friends, as family." "I am not a dog," Calthrin said, but there was no anger in his voice. "Only confusion. No, you're not. But the point is the same. We humans believe that strength isn't about dominating others. It's about helping them, about making things better." Marcus finished with the wing and sat down. "My crew died 3 years ago. Mining accident. I was the only survivor. For months I wanted to die too. Then a stranger bought me coffee one morning. Just a simple kindness from someone who saw I was hurting. It saved my life." Calthrin was quiet for a long time. "Among my people, such weakness would be despised." "Is it really weakness, though?" Marcus asked. "You gave up everything to save children you didn't know. That seems pretty strong to me." The dragon's good eye studied Marcus carefully. "You are strange, Marcus Webb. Your species is small and soft, weak by every measure. Yet you do not act weak. Maybe we have a different definition of strength." Over the next few days, Marcus visited every evening. He brought food and medicine. He brought blankets when the nights got cold. Slowly, Calthrin began to heal. But more than that, he began to talk. The dragon told stories about his homeworld, about cities carved into mountains, about flying through storms just for the joy of it, about his mother, who died when he was young, about his father who was disappointed in him for being too soft, too thoughtful, too concerned with the lives of lesser beings. Marcus shared his own stories, about Earth's oceans, about music and art, about his daughter who lived far away and rarely called anymore, about feeling like a failure as a father, as a leader, as a person. "You are not a failure," Calthrin said one night. "You saved me. Anyone would have done the same." "No," Calthrin said firmly. "No one would. I begged dozens of ships before I reached this station. They all refused me. Most tried to kill me for sport. You are the only one who helped." On the 5th day, Administrator Chen found Marcus. She was a small woman with sharp eyes. She cornered him in the corridor after his shift. "I know what you're doing," she said quietly. Marcus's heart sank. "I can explain. There's a dragon in the waste disposal area. You've been feeding it, helping it." Chen crossed her arms. "Do you understand what you've done?" "The Drakthor enforce their exiles. If they find out we're harboring one of their criminals, they'll destroy us. All of us. He's not a criminal. He saved children. That doesn't matter to them. It only matters that you've put 300 people at risk." Chen's voice was hard but not angry. She looked tired. "I should report this. I should call for a security team to remove the creature. But, Chen sighed, but I grew up on Earth in old San Francisco. When I was 10, an earthquake destroyed my home. My family was trapped in the rubble. A stranger dug us out with his bare hands, worked for 6 hours straight, saved all of us, never even told us his name. She looked at Marcus. So I understand why you're doing this. But Marcus, this is bigger than one dragon. Think about everyone else here. I am thinking about them, Marcus said. What kind of people would we be if we let someone starve just because helping them is inconvenient? What kind of species? The kind that survives. Surviving isn't the same as living. Chen stared at him for a long moment. Finally, she shook her head. You have 1 week. If no one comes for him by then, he needs to leave. Find another station, another planet. Anywhere but here. Understood? Understood. Thank you. Chen walked away, then paused. Marcus, that dragon. What's he like? He's scared. Lonely. Trying to figure out who he is now that he's lost everything. Marcus smiled sadly. A lot like us, actually. That evening, Marcus sat with Calthrin under the stars. The dragon's wing was healing. His scales looked a bit brighter. He was eating regularly now. I must leave soon, Calthrin said. He had heard the entire conversation with Chen. His hearing was excellent. I have put you all in danger long enough. Where will you go? I do not know. Far from here. Somewhere I can die in peace without bringing death to others. Marcus looked at the dragon's profile against the night sky. Don't talk like that. It is the truth. I am an exile. I have no clan. No purpose. No future. You have a friend, Marcus said quietly. Calthrin turned to look at him. The golden eye was wet. Friendship between our species is forbidden. It is considered contamination. Humans are too soft, too emotional. We are taught that knowing you makes us weak. And what do you think? The dragon was quiet for a very long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I think I have never felt stronger than I do right now. Sitting here with you, being seen, being valued, not for my fire or my size or my ability to kill, but just for being. Marcus reached out slowly and placed his gloved hand on the dragon's shoulder. Calthrin did not pull away. Then maybe, Marcus said, your people are wrong about what makes someone strong. Above them, stars filled the sky. Two beings from different worlds sat together in comfortable silence. Neither knew that tomorrow, everything would change, that the hunters were already on their way, that the choice Marcus made in that moment would echo across the galaxy. But for now, they had this, a quiet evening, a shared understanding, and the beginning of something that would reshape what it meant to be strong. The alarm woke everyone at dawn. Marcus jumped from his bed and ran to the command center. Other workers crowded around the windows, pointing at the sky. Administrator Chen stood at the main console, her face pale. 3 ships, she said. Drakthor war vessels. They're here. Marcus's blood went cold. He pushed through the crowd and looked up. 3 massive shapes hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds. Dragon ships. Each one was the size of a city block. Their hulls glowed red with heat. They're hailing us, the communications officer said. Put it through, Chen ordered. The main screen flickered. A dragon's face appeared. This one was huge, with scales like black metal. Scars covered his snout. His eyes burned with orange fire. I am Vorgath, hunter of the Flamewing clan, the dragon said. His voice rumbled like thunder. We track an exile. Calthrin the weak, Calthrin the traitor. Our instruments detect his life signature on your station. Return him to us immediately. The station fell silent. Everyone looked at Marcus. He felt their eyes on him. 300 people all waiting to see what he would do. Chen stepped forward. This is a human mining station. We have no involvement in Drakthor internal affairs. Do not lie to me, human. Vorgath's eyes narrowed. The exile is there. We can smell his shame from space. Give him to us or we will take him, and burn your station to ash while we do. Marcus pushed past Chen. He's under my protection. The crowd gasped. Chen grabbed his arm. Marcus, no. But Marcus pulled away and walked closer to the screen. I'm Marcus Webb. Calthrin asked me for help. I gave it. That makes him my responsibility. Vorgath stared at him. Then the dragon threw back his head and laughed. It was not a kind sound. A human claims to protect a Drakthor. You? You are nothing. A tiny creature made of soft meat. I could burn you to atoms with a single breath. Probably, Marcus agreed. But you'd have to catch me first. And even if you do, others will take my place. That's how we work. Foolish. Vorgath stopped laughing. You risk your entire station for one broken exile? Why? Because he asked for food and I gave it. On my world, that makes him a guest. And we protect our guests. Then you will die with him. All of you. Vorgath leaned closer to the camera. We land in 1 hour. Prepare the exile for execution. If you resist, we will show no mercy. The screen went dark. The command center erupted in chaos. People shouted. Some cried. Some demanded that Marcus be arrested, and Kael'thran handed over immediately. Administrator Chen called for order, but no one listened. Marcus slipped away. He ran through the corridors to the waste disposal area. Kael'thran was waiting there. The dragon had heard everything. His good eye was filled with sorrow. I must go to them, Kael'thran said. I will not let innocent people die for me. No. Marcus, please, this is not your fight. Yes, it is. Marcus checked his tools. Besides, I have an idea. What idea could possibly save us from Vorgath? He is a legend among my people. He has killed thousands. He enjoys it. Then I guess I'll have to be very convincing. 1 hour later, 3 dragons landed on the station's main platform. They were enormous. Vorgath was the largest, easily 3 times Kael'thran's size. His scales gleamed like weapons. The other 2 hunters flanked him, ready to kill. The station workers watched from behind sealed doors. Marcus stood alone on the platform. Administrator Chen had tried to stop him. Security had tried to arrest him. But Marcus walked out anyway. Sometimes you had to do the stupid thing because it was also the right thing. Kael'thran emerged from the shadows. He limped forward on his damaged wing, trying to look brave, but Marcus could see him shaking. I am here, Vorgath, Kael'thran said. His voice was steady despite his fear. Let these humans live. They know nothing of our ways. This is between you and me. Vorgath smiled with too many teeth. How noble. How pathetic. You always were too soft, Kael'thran. Even as a hatchling, you cried for the prey. Your father was ashamed. My father was wrong, Kael'thran said quietly. What? Vorgath roared. Fire leaked from his nostrils. You dare insult the memory of... He was wrong, Kael'thran repeated louder this time. And so are you. We were not meant to rule through fear. We lost something important. Something we need to remember. Marcus stepped forward. He walked right between the 2 dragons and looked up at Vorgath. The hunter was so tall that Marcus had to crane his neck to meet his eyes. Back away, insect, Vorgath growled, or I will step on you by accident. Marcus did not move. You want to kill Kael'thran because he showed mercy, because he saved children, because he chose compassion over cruelty. I will kill him because those are our laws, because exile must end in death, because weakness cannot be tolerated. Is asking for help weakness? Marcus asked. Is admitting you're hungry and need food weakness? Because where I come from, that takes more courage than pretending you need nothing from anyone. Vorgath leaned down. His breath was hot enough to singe Marcus's hair. You know nothing of courage, human. You are prey. You exist to be consumed. Marcus stared directly into Vorgath's burning eyes. No prey species did that. It was a challenge, a statement. Vorgath's pupils dilated with surprise. You're wrong, Marcus said calmly, and I'll prove it. You want Kael'thran? You go through me first. The station crew, watching from inside, went completely silent. This was insane. This was suicide. This was impossible. But then something happened that no one expected. Kael'thran stepped forward. He stood beside Marcus, broken wing and all. The small human and the damaged dragon standing together against a legend. "If you kill Marcus," Kelthrin said, "you must kill me first, and I will not go quietly." Vorgath stared at them both. He seemed confused, angry, and something else. Something like doubt. Then Kelthrin's scales began to glow. It started faintly, just a dim light deep within the gray scales. But it grew brighter. Blue-white light, like starfire. It spread across Kelthrin's body, making him shine. Vorgath stepped back. His eyes went wide. "Impossible," he whispered. The other two hunters fell to their knees. Kael'shara, one of them breathed. The soul fire, the ancient light. Kelthrin looked down at himself in shock. The glow intensified. His damaged scales began to heal. The torn wing membrane started to knit together. His scarred eye opened, golden and perfect. Marcus watched in amazement. What's happening? But Vorgath knew. And for the first time in his long life, the legendary hunter looked afraid. Vorgath could not speak. The ancient hunter who had faced armies and won stood frozen on the landing platform. His eyes were locked on the blue-white light flowing from Kelthrin's scales. "How?" Vorgath finally managed. "How is this possible?" One of the other hunters, a female with crimson scales, crawled closer. "Elder Vorgath, the texts speak of this. The first bonding. Before we became conquerors, before we ruled through fear, there was another way." "Myths," Vorgath said, but his voice shook. "Stories for hatchlings." "I thought so too," Kelthrin said. He looked at his glowing claws in wonder. "But I feel it now. This power. It's not from dominance or fear. It's from—" He looked at Marcus. "From connection. From being seen as worthy. From friendship." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus stepped closer to Kelthrin. "I still don't understand what's happening." The female hunter spoke, her voice filled with awe. "The Kael'shara, the soul fire. Legends say that long ago, before the Great Forgetting, our people could channel this power, but only through bonds with other beings, with those we called star friends. The small ones who dreamed of stars," the third hunter added. "That's what the ancient carvings call them. Beings who looked up at the sky and wanted to touch it, even though they had no wings. We helped them reach those dreams. And in return, they gave us something we had lost. Purpose, connection, the soul fire." Vorgath's face twisted with anger and confusion. "You speak of the time of shame, when our ancestors were weak enough to need others. We evolved beyond that. We became strong enough to stand alone, did we?" Kelthrin's voice was stronger now. The light still pulsed from him. "Or did we just become afraid? Afraid to need anyone. Afraid to show vulnerability. Afraid to admit that connection isn't weakness?" "I will not listen to this heresy," Vorgath snarled. But he did not attack. He did not move at all. Marcus looked up at Kelthrin. "When you asked me for food, you thought it made you weak. But I saw courage. It takes strength to ask for help when you need it. My people do not ask for help, ever. We would rather die." "And how many of you have died because of pride?" Marcus asked gently. "How many dragons have suffered alone when they could have been saved?" Kelthrin's eyes widened. "Thousands. Tens of thousands. We call it honorable death. But maybe it's just waste." The glow from his scales brightened again. Marcus felt heat radiating from the dragon, but it did not burn. It felt warm, safe, like standing near a fireplace on a cold night. "This is impossible," Vorgath repeated. But there was less certainty in his voice now. The exile should be dead, starving, broken. Instead, he burns with the light of legends. "Because of a human?" He looked at Marcus with something like disgust. "You are nothing. Small, weak, prey." "Maybe," Marcus said. "But I'm the one who fed him. I'm the one who bandaged his wounds. I'm the one who sat with him when he was alone. What did your strength do for him?" Vorgath had no answer. The female hunter spoke again. "Elder Vorgath, we must report this to the council. The return of the Kael'shara changes everything. If it's real, then everything we believe is a lie," Vorgath finished. He looked old suddenly, tired. "Everything we've built, our entire civilization, based on the idea that we need no one. That isolation is strength. It doesn't have to be a lie," Kelthrin said. "Maybe it's just incomplete. Maybe we were strong in war, but we forgot how to be strong in peace." Marcus watched the dragons carefully. 3 enormous predators, capable of destroying the entire station with ease. But right now they looked lost, confused, like children who had just learned that everything they were taught was wrong. "I don't know much about dragon culture," Marcus said, "but I know about humans. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest or the smartest, but we survived because we help each other, because we build communities, because we understand that together we're stronger than we could ever be alone." "Pretty words," Vorgath said, "but words do not win battles." "No," Marcus agreed, "but they build civilizations. They create futures. They give life meaning beyond just survival." Kelthrin's soulfire pulsed brighter. "Marcus saved me, not because he gained anything from it, not because I could serve him, but because it was the right thing to do. Because he saw me suffering and chose to help." The young dragon's voice grew passionate. "Don't you see? This is the power we lost. Not the ability to burn brighter or fly faster, the ability to care, to connect, to be more than just weapons." The Crimson Hunter stood slowly. She looked at Kelthrin with wonder. "Your scales. They're healing, growing strong. How do you feel?" "I feel..." Kelthrin paused, searching for words. "I feel like I finally understand what I'm meant to be. Not a weapon, not a conqueror, but something better, something my ancestors were before we forgot." Vorgath shook his head slowly. "The Council will never accept this. They will call it contamination. They will order your death and the death of this entire station. Then maybe the Council is wrong," the third hunter said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He was younger than the others, with silver scales. "Forgive me, Elder, but I have watched you hunt for many years. I have seen you kill exiles. I have never once seen you hesitate. But today you stand here and you do not attack. Why?" Vorgath was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed and smoke drifted from his nostrils. "Because I am afraid." "Of what?" "That the human is right. That we have been wrong for 10,000 years. That we destroyed something precious and called it evolution." Vorgath looked at Marcus. "You should be dead. I should have killed you the moment you challenged me. But I cannot. Because watching you stand with Kelthrin, willing to die for someone not of your blood, not of your species, just because it was right." The old dragon's voice cracked. "It reminded me of something I have not felt in centuries. Honor. Real honor. Not the honor of dominance, but the honor of choosing the hard path because it is righteous." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "So what happens now?" Vorgath looked at Kelthrin, at the young dragon glowing with ancient power. Then he made a decision that would change the galaxy. "Now," Vorgath said slowly, "I make a report to the Council, but not the report they expect. I will tell them that the exile has manifested the Kael Shara, that the ancient power has returned, and that we must reconsider everything." "They will not listen," the female hunter said. "Then we will make them listen," Vorgath replied. "Even if it means challenging the Council itself." The silver hunter stepped forward. "I stand with you, Elder." The crimson female nodded. "As do I." Kelthrin looked at them all in amazement. "You would risk exile for me? For this idea?" "Not for you," Vorgath said. "For truth. For our people's future. For the chance that we might become something more than just feared." He looked at Marcus. "And because a small human had more courage than I have shown in 1,000 years. That shame burns deeper than any flame." Marcus didn't know what to say, so he simply nodded. Administrator Chen's voice crackled over the station intercom. "Marcus, what's happening out there? Are we about to die?" Marcus smiled. "No, Administrator. I think we just started something that's going to change everything." Above them, stars continued their eternal dance. And below, an impossible alliance began to form between species that should have been enemies. The dragons did not leave. Instead, they landed properly and asked to speak with the station's leaders, to learn about humans, to understand what they had been missing. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or weapons. It was the simple, radical act of compassion. And sometimes miracles happened when you looked into someone's eyes and saw them not as a threat or a tool, but as someone worthy of kindness. The message from the Dragon Council arrived 3 days later. It came through every communication channel in the sector at once. A hologram of 5 ancient dragons appeared above the station's command center. They were massive, with scales that looked like mountains. Their eyes held the weight of 10,000 years. The lead counselor spoke. His voice echoed through the station like an earthquake. "We are the Eternal Council of the Drakthor. We have received Vorgath's report. We find it disturbing." Administrator Chen stood before the hologram. Marcus stood beside her. Behind them, the entire station crew watched in silence. Outside, Vorgath and his hunters waited with Kelthron. "Disturbing how?" Chen asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Vorgath claims the exile Kelthron has manifested the Kelshara, the soul fire. He claims this power came from bonding with humans. This is impossible." "It's not impossible," Marcus said. "We saw it. We all saw it." "You will be silent, human," another counselor hissed. "You have no right to speak before the council." "Actually, I do." Marcus stepped forward. "Because apparently I'm part of this now. Kelthron's soul fire came from our friendship. From connection. From me treating him like he mattered instead of like he was garbage." The counselors looked at each other. Their expressions were unreadable. The lead counselor spoke again. "We offer you a choice, human." "A simple choice. Surrender Kelthron to us for execution. In return, humanity will be granted full trading rights in dragon space. Your species will become wealthy beyond measure. Your people will thrive." The station went silent. Marcus felt everyone's eyes on him. Full trading rights would change everything for humanity. Resources, technology, power, and if I refuse? Marcus asked. "Then you face economic blockade. No human ship will be allowed in our territory. Any that try will be destroyed. Your colonies in this sector will starve. Your people will suffer." The counselor leaned closer. "And if you resist further, we will consider it an act of war." Chen grabbed Marcus's arm. "Marcus, please. Think about this. It's one dragon versus millions of human lives." Marcus looked at her. "Is it, though? Or is it about what kind of people we choose to be? Don't be stupid. This is politics. This is survival." "No," Marcus said quietly. "This is about whether we mean what we say. We tell ourselves that humans are different, that we're better because we have compassion. But what does that mean if we throw someone away the moment it becomes inconvenient?" Behind the hologram, Kelthron's voice came through the station speakers. "Marcus, please. Accept their offer. I have lived too long already. I do not want to be the reason your people suffer." Marcus turned to the hologram. "No deal," the command center erupted. People shouted. Some begged him to reconsider. Others called him a traitor. Chen looked like she wanted to arrest him right there. The lead counselor's eyes narrowed. "You refuse our generous offer?" "Generous?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "You're asking me to hand over my friend to be killed. There's nothing generous about that. And you know what? I think you're scared." "Scared?" The counselor's voice dripped with contempt. "Of what?" "Of what Kelthron represents. Of the Kelshara. Of the possibility that your entire civilization has been built on a lie." Marcus felt his anger rising. "You tell yourselves that isolation is strength, that needing no one makes you powerful. But really, you're just lonely. You're just afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to admit that connection might be worth the risk." The counselors were silent. "And another thing," Marcus continued. "You talk about strength and power. But you know what real power is? Real power is standing here knowing you could destroy my entire station, and saying no anyway. Real power is choosing what's right even when it cost you everything." One of the counselors spoke. Her voice was like ice. Bold words from someone about to lose everything. "Maybe. But I'll sleep better than you will." The lead counselor studied Marcus for a long moment. "You would truly sacrifice your people's future for one exile? For one dragon who means nothing in the grand scheme of the galaxy? He means something to me. That's enough. Then you are a fool." "Probably," Marcus agreed. "But I'm a fool who keeps his word. Kelthron asked for food, I gave it. That makes him my guest, my friend. And I don't abandon my friends just because it's hard." Outside, Kelthron's soul fire blazed brighter. The blue-white light filled the landing platform. Marcus could see it through the windows. The female counselor noticed it too. "His fire burned stronger, how?" "Because he feels it," Marcus said. "He feels someone standing up for him. Someone who thinks he's worth the fight." Chen stepped forward. "Marcus, this is insane." "I can't let you do this. Then arrest me. But it won't change anything. Because I'm not the only one." The station intercom crackled. A voice came through. It was Jenkins from engineering. "Administrator Chen, I stand with Marcus. If they want war, they get war." Another voice joined in. "This is Rodriguez from life support. I stand with Marcus too. More voices. Dozens of them. Engineers, miners, cooks, medical staff. One by one, the crew of Outpost Epsilon 7 declared their support. Not because it made sense, not because it was smart, but because it was right. Chen closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were filled with tears. Damn it, Marcus. Damn it? She turned to the hologram. This is Administrator Chen. I speak for Outpost Epsilon 7. We refuse your offer. Kelthrin stays. The counselors looked shocked. You would condemn your entire station? We condemn nothing, Chen said. We just choose to be human. And being human means standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves. The lead counselor's expression was unreadable. Then you have made your choice. The blockade begins immediately. But know this, humans. You are not alone in your decision. The report has spread throughout our empire. Young dragons are questioning, asking about the Kale Shara, about the old ways. You have started something that may tear our civilization apart. Good, Marcus said. Maybe it needs to be torn apart. Maybe you need to rebuild it into something better. The hologram flickered. But before it could fade completely, the female counselor spoke one last time. Marcus Webb. You are either the bravest creature I have ever encountered or the most foolish. I have not yet decided which. Can't I be both? She almost smiled. Perhaps. But know this. What you have done today will echo across the galaxy, for good or ill. You have changed the course of history. The hologram vanished. The command center remained silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Soon the entire crew was applauding, not because they had won. They hadn't won anything. They had just signed up for hardship and struggle. But they had done it together. They had done it for something that mattered. Marcus walked outside to the landing platform. Kelthrin was waiting there, his scales still glowing with soulfire. You should have taken the deal, Kelthrin said quietly. Shut up, Marcus said, but he was smiling. You're my friend. Friends don't abandon each other. Even when it costs everything? Especially then. Kelthrin lowered his head until it was level with Marcus. I do not understand humans. I do not think I ever will. But I am grateful to have known you. Whatever happens next, that will never change. Vorgath approached. The young ones are already rebelling. I have received 17 messages from junior hunters asking about the Kale Shara, about the old ways. Your council is losing control. Is that why you look so happy? Marcus asked. Vorgath's smile showed all his teeth. I am 10,000 years old. I have spent most of that time enforcing rules I no longer believe in. Yes, I am happy to watch it all burn. Perhaps from the ashes we can build something worth keeping. Administrator Chen joined them. So what now? We're blockaded. We have maybe 3 months of supplies. The council will probably send a fleet to destroy us. We're all going to die. Marcus looked at Kelthrin, at Vorgath, at the crew watching from the windows, at Chen standing beside him despite everything. Maybe, Marcus said, or maybe we just started something bigger than any of us. Maybe compassion is contagious. Maybe when people see what we're willing to fight for, they'll want to fight for it too. High above, the stars watched in silence, and across the galaxy, young dragons looked up at those same stars and wondered if there might be a better way to live. A way that didn't require loneliness. A way that allowed connection. A way that led back to the light their ancestors had lost so long ago. The miracle wasn't over. It was just beginning. The first supply ship arrived 2 weeks later. Not from Earth, from a dragon colony called Ash Ridge. Young dragons who had heard about Kelthrin and wanted to help. They brought food, medicine, fuel, and most importantly, they brought hope. More ships followed. Not many at first. A few dragons here. A few humans there. But the trickle became a stream. Became a flood. The Dragon Council tried to stop it. They ordered the rebels to return. They threatened exile. They even sent warships. But something had broken in the Empire. 10,000 years of isolation and fear had created cracks. Kelthrin's soulfire had found those cracks and turned them into canyons. Marcus watched from the landing platform as another ship arrived. This one carried a delegation of young dragons. Their scales were bright with excitement. They wanted to meet the human who had started everything. This is getting out of control, Administrator Chen said. She stood beside Marcus, looking exhausted but somehow younger than before. We have dragons living in the storage bays. We have dragon ambassadors eating in the cafeteria. Yesterday I found one trying to learn how to play chess. Marcus smiled. Who won? The dragon. Turns out they're very good at strategy. Chen shook her head. Marcus, we're not equipped for this. We're a mining station. Now we're somehow the center of an interstellar revolution. I know. Sorry about that. Don't be. Chen looked at him seriously. What you did, what we all did, it mattered. Every day I get reports from Earth, from other colonies. They're inspired. They're proud. Humanity is standing taller because we stood up for what was right. Kael'thran landed beside them. His scales gleamed in the sunlight. His wings were fully healed now. His soul fire burned constantly, a blue-white glow that never faded. Other dragons were starting to manifest it too. Not as strongly, not yet, but the light was spreading. Another council ship just entered the system, Kael'thran said. But this one is different. It carries the High Matriarch herself. Chen went pale. The leader of the entire Dragon Council? Here, she comes alone. No warships. No guards. Kael'thran sounded uncertain. I do not know what this means. They waited on the platform as the ship landed. It was enormous, ancient, covered in symbols from a time before humans had even discovered fire. The boarding ramp extended, an old dragon emerged. She was larger than any Marcus had seen, with scales like polished obsidian. Her eyes were deep gold, ancient beyond measure. But there was something different about her. Something in the way she moved. Not with the arrogance Marcus had seen in other dragon leaders, but with curiosity. She approached slowly. I am Katara, High Matriarch of the Drakthor Empire. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. I come to speak with Marcus Webb. Marcus stepped forward, ignoring Chen's warning hand on his shoulder. I'm Marcus. Katara studied him. Then, to everyone's shock, she lowered her head. A sign of respect among dragons, I owe you an apology, she said. Several apologies, actually. But we should start with the most important one. I am sorry for threatening your people, for trying to use fear as a weapon, for forgetting what the Drakthor were meant to be. Marcus didn't know what to say. The leader of the Dragon Empire was apologizing. To him. A mechanic from nowhere. I don't understand, Marcus managed. Katara raised her head. I am the oldest of the council. I'm 15,000 years old. I remember things the others do not. Things we chose to forget. She looked at Kael'thran, who stood frozen with shock. I remember the time of bonding, when we were not conquerors but partners, when small ones who dreamed of stars flew with us, when the soul fire burned in every dragon's heart. Then why did you let it end? Kael'thran asked. Why did you let us become monsters? Because I was afraid, Katara said simply. The small ones we bonded with eventually died. Their lives were so brief compared to ours, and every time they died, we felt the pain of loss, again and again, century after century. Eventually, we decided it was easier not to bond at all, easier to be alone, to be strong through isolation rather than connection. She sat down heavily. But we were wrong. We became powerful, yes, but we also became hollow, empty. We forgot why we wanted power in the first place. And over time, we convinced ourselves that the old way was weakness, that needing no one made us superior. Marcus sat down on a crate. This was too much to process. So what changed? You changed, Marcus Webb. You looked at a broken exile begging for garbage and you saw someone worth saving. You risked everything for a creature you had no reason to help. Katara's eyes glistened. That reminded me of what we lost, and it made me realize that 10,000 years of loneliness is not strength. It is just sadness. Vorgath emerged from the station. He stopped when he saw Katara. High Matriarch, I did not expect you to come yourself. Vorgath, old friend. I came because you were right. Your report was correct. Everything is changing. The other counselors. They must be furious. Katara smiled slightly. The other counselors no longer speak for the Drakthor. I have dissolved the council. Silence. You... What? Vorgath stared at her. I dissolved it peacefully. I told them the truth. That we have been living in fear disguised as pride. That the return of the Kalshara means our young people have found what we lost. And that rather than fight against it, we should embrace it. Help guide it. Katara spread her wings. They disagreed, of course. So I gave them a choice. Step down voluntarily, or be removed by the young dragons who are already questioning everything. They chose to step down. So who leads the Empire now? Chen asked. No one. Not yet. Katara looked at Kael'thran. Leadership must come from those who understand both the old ways and the new. From those who have walked through darkness and found light. She bowed her head again, this time to Kelthron. I nominate you, Kelthron of the Rekindled Flame. You who asked for help when you needed it. You who chose mercy over pride. You who remembered what we forgot. Kelthron stepped back. No, I cannot. I am just in exile, a failure. You are the first to carry the soul fire in 10,000 years, Katara said. You are the bridge between what we were and what we can become. And you have something more important than power or age. You have a friend who would die for you. That is the greatest strength any leader can have. Marcus stood up. Kelthron, she's right. You understand both sides now. You know what the dragons were, what they became, and what they could be. I am afraid, Kelthron whispered. Of course you are, Katara said gently. Leadership is terrifying, but you do not have to do it alone. That is the lesson you have taught us. We are stronger together. Over the next weeks, everything changed. Kelthron became the new voice of the Drakthor, though he refused the title of High Matriarch. He called himself simply First Among Friends. Young dragons flocked to Outpost Epsilon 7 not to conquer, to learn, to understand, to remember. The blockade ended. The threat stopped. Instead, dragons and humans began working together, trading, building, creating something new. Marcus returned to his workshop. But now sometimes Kelthron helped him. It turned out that dragon plasma breath, when controlled precisely, was perfect for welding. They worked side by side, the human mechanic and the dragon leader, just two friends fixing old shuttles and building a new future. 6 months after that first night, Marcus was finishing repairs on a transport when Kelthron called him outside. Marcus, come quickly. There is someone here to see you. Marcus wiped his hands and walked to the landing platform. A dragon stood there, young, thin, one wing damaged, scales dull and gray. It looked exactly like Kelthron had looked that first night. The dragon saw Marcus and lowered its head. Excuse me, sir. I heard that humans help those in need. I'm hungry, I'm hurt. I do not wish to bother you, but... The dragon's voice broke. May I have leftovers, sir? Marcus felt tears in his eyes. He looked at Kelthron, who was smiling. How about a real meal instead? Marcus said. The young dragon's eyes went wide. I do not deserve... Yes, you do. Everyone deserves help when they need it. Marcus gestured to the station. Come on, let's get you fed. Then we'll fix that wing, and then you can decide what you want to do next. Why would you help me? Marcus smiled. Because you asked. That's what we do here. As they walked into the station, more dragons emerged from the shadows. Others who had heard about this place, about the humans who helped without demanding submission, about the miracle that happened when you looked into someone's eyes and saw them as worthy of kindness. Kelthron stood beside Marcus, his soul fire blazing bright. It is spreading. The Kelshara, every dragon who finds connection, who admits vulnerability, who accepts help, they begin to glow. Good, Marcus said. The galaxy needs more light. Thank you, Marcus. For everything. For saving me. For teaching me that asking for help is not weakness, but courage. Thank you for teaching me that compassion isn't just a nice idea. It's a force that can change civilizations. Above them, stars filled the sky. The same stars that humans had dreamed of touching for thousands of years. The same stars that dragons had flown among but never truly appreciated. Now both species looked at those stars together and saw not conquest or dominance, but possibility, connection, hope. The miracle that began with a simple question and a small act of kindness had grown into something that reshaped the galaxy. Humans and dragons working together, not because they had to, but because they chose to.